Good morning, students. Today let us discuss relationship between Cp and Cv. Cp is nothing but the amount of heat supplied to the system at constant pressure, and Cv is amount of heat supplied to the system at constant volume. At constant pressure, how much amount of heat energy we are supplying to the system, that we call Cp. How much amount of heat energy is supplied to the system at a constant volume, we call it as Cv. Let us consider two systems. One system is at constant pressure and another system is at constant volume. The amount of gas taken is same and the initial volume of the gas is same because we are taking both the systems at same temperature and same pressure. So here we have taken same amount of gas, same temperature, same volume. So both are having same temperature, both are having the same conditions. Just we started supplying heat energy to the system. For one system, we are maintaining a constant pressure. It means as we supply heat energy, there is increase in the volume of the gas because volume of a given mass of gas is directly proportional to temperature according to Charles' law at constant pressure. So to maintain that constant pressure, there is increase in the volume. When there is increase in the volume, there is some work is done in the first, that is at constant pressure. Second one, we are maintaining a constant volume. It means there is no increase in volume of the gas. As you supply heat energy to the system, there is only increase in its internal energy. There is no work is done because there is no expansion, there is no compression, nothing. So volume is constant, there is no work. When there is no work, whatever the heat we are supplying, that will increase the internal energy. After observing 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just when we observe, what happens? The increase in temperature of system which is at constant volume is more compared to the system at constant pressure. Same amount of heat we supplied because source is same, time is also same, and same gases are there, so their specific heat may be same. So but here the temperature of the system which is at a constant volume is increased, whereas the system which is constant pressure is not increased, means there is a difference in temperature. To make the same temperature of constant pressure, again we have to supply little more amount of heat energy to the system at constant pressure. By this we come to know that Cp value is little greater than Cv value. For all gases, Cp value is always greater than Cv value. Okay, I think you understood that. Why Cp value is greater? Because to maintain the constant pressure of the system, there is increase in the volume. That means the system is going to do some work. The amount of heat supplied to the system, part of that will be used to increase the internal energy and remaining will do as work. So Cp value is always greater than Cv value. I think you understood this. Okay, next. The difference in Cp and Cv value. What is the difference between Cp value of a gas and Cv value of a gas? According to definition, already we proved this, we solved this. Cp is equals to rate of change of enthalpy with respect to temperature, whereas Cv is nothing but rate of change of internal energy with respect to temperature. Change in simply we can say that change in enthalpy of the system with respect to temperature is called Cp, change in internal energy of the system with respect to temperature, we call it as Cv. As you know, Cp value is greater than Cv value, so we have to take the difference, then we have to subtract Cv from Cp. So Cp minus Cv, Cp dH by dt minus Cv du by dt. According to definition of enthalpy, already you learned, enthalpy is nothing but the total heat content of the system. In simply we can say definition, it is the sum of internal energy and pressure volume work. So H is equals to U plus PV we can give. H is nothing but enthalpy, U is nothing but internal energy, PV is nothing but pressure volume work. In place of PV we can substitute RT, because according to ideal gas equation, PV is nothing but RT. PV is equal to RT for ideal gas for 1 mole of gas. So in place of PV, just substitute RT, then your equation become H is equals to U plus RT. Then differentiate this equation with respect to temperature, that is T. It becomes dH by dt, this U become du by dt, and RT become dRT by dt. Here R is a constant value, so dH by dt, du by dt, R is constant, dt by dt, that is equal to 1. So dH by dt, du by dt plus R. dH by dt, we are bringing this du by dt this side, it becomes dH by dt minus du by dt equals to R, and consider this equation 2. Here equation 1 and here equation 2. Equation 1 says that in equation 1 we have Cp minus Cv is equals to dH by dt minus du by dt, whereas equation 2 is dH by dt minus du by dt equals to R. Just by comparing, we can say that Cp minus Cv is equals to R for 1 mole of gas. It means the difference between Cp and Cv for a particular gas is equal to universal gas constant, which is equals to 8.314 joules or 2 calories. Means whatever the value of R, that is 8.314 joules in case of SI system, 2 calories in ordinary system. So Cp of a gas, Cv of a gas, the difference is equal to universal gas constant value, that is R, which is equal to 8.314. For n moles of gas, Cp minus Cv is equals to Nr, where N is number of moles of gas. I think you understood this. Next one, degree of freedom. Degree of freedom nothing but the number of different ways a molecule in gaseous state move, vibrate or rotate in space. In what way the molecule is going to move, in how many ways a molecule is going to vibrate, how many ways a molecule is going to rotate in 3-dimensional space, that is called degree of freedom. How many types a molecule can move, how many types a molecule can vibrate, how many types a molecule can rotate, that is nothing but degree of freedom. Okay. There are 3 types of degree of freedom. They are translational degree of freedom, rotational degree of freedom, vibrational degree of freedom. As you know, translational degree of freedom nothing but movement of molecules in straight line. Rotational degree of freedom, it is nothing but the rotation of molecule along its center of mass. Each and every particle has a center of mass. Along that center of mass, how many times a molecule can rotate? That is called rotational degree of freedom. Third one, vibrational degree of freedom. Vibrational degree of freedom, nothing but how many times a molecule can vibrate. Vibration, how many times a molecule can vibrate in is nothing but the vibrational degree of freedom. Okay, next, the total number of degree of freedom of a molecule depends upon how many types a molecule can move or vibrate or rotate. That depends upon two factors. Number one, atomicity of the molecule, and number two, geometry of the molecule. Atomicity of the molecule. Atomicity, nothing but number of atoms present in the molecule. How many atoms are there in the molecule? That will be atomicity. For example, hydrogen we are writing H2, HCl, N2, HBr. These are diatomic molecules. Atomicity of these molecules is 2 because they contain 2 atoms. H3, another gas molecule is there, NH3. Ammonia is a gas molecule. Ammonia, 1 nitrogen, 3 hydrogen. So total number of atoms in ammonia molecule equals to 4. So atomicity of ammonia is 4. Atomicity means the number of atoms present in a molecule. It means the total number of degree of freedom depends upon number of atoms present in the molecule, that is atomicity of the molecule. Second, geometry of the molecule, whether the molecule is linear or the molecule is non-linear, angular, whether the atoms lie in the straight line or the molecules has an angular, that is non-linear. Okay, next, the molecular degree of freedom essentially describe how a molecule is able to contain energy and distribute its energy. By molecular degree of freedom, we come to know that what is the energy stored in the molecule and how the energy is distributed to other molecules. Already in your kinetic theory of gases, you studied that whenever the molecules are in motion, they are colliding with other molecules and they also collide with walls of the container. During that collision, neither they they can transfer energy, but the collision is inelastic collision. You studied. So here, whenever the molecules are moving, they are transferring energy. So by degree of freedom, we come to know that how much energy a molecule is stored and how many type it will transfer its energy to the other molecules, we can learn. Okay, let us learn this table. Degree of freedom, translational, rotational, vibrational. This is for monoatomic and this is for polyatomic linear molecules, and this is for polyatomic non-linear molecules, that is angular molecules. Translational. The degree of freedom for monoatomic is 3, polyatomic is also 3, and linear is 3, and polyatomic non-linear is also 3. It means translational degree of freedom for all type of molecules is 3. Why it is 3? Because a molecule can move in a straight line along the x-axis, along the y-axis, along the z-axis. All the 3 Cartesian coordinates it can move. So degree of translational degree of freedom for all type of molecules is 3. Okay. Second one, rotational. Monoatomic rotational degree of freedom is 0, whereas polyatomic rotational degree of freedom is 2, whereas non-linear molecule it is 3. If it is a polyatomic molecule, it is having 2 rotational degree of freedom. If it is a non-linear molecule, the rotational degree of freedom is 3. Okay. Vibrational degree of freedom. For monoatomic it is 0. For polyatomic linear we can given by 3n minus 5, where 3n is nothing but number of atoms present in the molecule, nothing but atomicity. For example, H2 polyatomic molecule is there, it is a linear molecule, or HCl, it is a polyatomic molecule and it is a linear molecule. In these cases, n value is 2, that is 3 into 2, that is 6, 6 minus 5, that is 1. It means it is having only one vibrational degree of freedom. If polyatomic molecule non-linear is there, it means the molecule has angular. In that case, degree of freedom is given by vibrational degree of freedom is given by 3n minus 6. For example, if we have taken water, which is a non-linear molecule, number of atoms 3, so 3 into 3, that is 9, 9 minus 6, that is 3. It means water molecule can vibrate in 3 different ways. Okay. Then last one, total number of degree of freedom, means if it is a monoatomic, only 3 is there. If it is a polyatomic and linear molecule, 3n, its degree of freedom is 3n. It means in 3 different ways it can move, where n is the number of atoms. 3n, for example, H2, 3 into T, 6 type it will vibrate, or sorry, 6 type it can move, vibrate or rotate. Polyatomic, 3 into 3, for water it has 9 types of degree of freedom. I think you understood here. N is nothing, means for polyatomic linear molecule 3n is there, where n is number of atoms present in the molecule. So for example, if you take hydrogen, 3 into 2, that is 6, 6 type it can vibrate. It means, sorry, it can move. For example, this 6 nothing but 3 types translatory degree of freedom, 2 is rotational degree of freedom, and 1 is vibrational degree of freedom. So total number of degree of freedom is 6. Shall I repeat it? For hydrogen, then n value is 2, it means 3 into 2, this is equals to 6. Hydrogen has 6 degree of freedom. Out of 6, 3 translational degree of freedom, 2 rotational degree of freedom, and 1 vibrational degree of freedom. Here polyatomic non-linear molecules, if we have for example here water, n value for water is 3, so 3 into 3, that is equal to 9, means the degree of freedom of water molecule is 9. Out of this 9, 3 translational degree of freedom, 3 rotational degree of freedom, and 3 vibrational degree of freedom. In this way, the degree of freedom can be explained. Next, some points for notable points here. Translational and rotational degree of freedom contributes 1/2 kT energy. Each translational, each rotational degree of freedom will contribute this much amount of energy, that is 1/2 kT. 1 K is nothing but Boltzmann constant, T is absolute temperature, and K value is given by R by N, where R is gas constant, N is number of molecules. R by N value K. In the same way, vibrational degree of freedom contributes KT energy. where K is equal to R by N, or we can say Boltzmann constant. Another one important point here, vibrational degree of freedom contributes only at higher temperature. It means molecular vibration is only possible at high temperature. At moderate temperature or low temperature, vibrational degree of freedom is zero, or it is not going to contribute. Okay, let us calculate Cp and Cv value for monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic gases by using degree of freedom. For monoatomic gases, energy per mole is given by 3 into 1 by 2 RT or 3 by 2 RT. 3 is nothing but degree of freedom, and 1 by 2 RT is nothing but amount of energy per mole, or amount of energy contributed by the molecule, 1 mole molecules. So 3 is the degree of freedom. For monoatomic gases, they have only translatory motion. The monoatomic gases have only translatory degree of freedom. They don't have rotational degree of freedom or vibrational degree of freedom, and energy contributed by translatory degree of freedom is 1 by 2 RT. So energy per mole is given by 3 by 2 RT. But we know that Cv is equals to, that is molar heat capacity at constant volume, is equals to rate of change of energy, that is internal energy with respect to temperature. So in place of U we are taking 3 RT by dt. Actually I have to write here D, means we have to differentiate this value with respect to dt. So on differentiation we are getting 3 by 2 R. So Cv value for monoatomic gases is 3 by 2 R. Next, diatomic molecular gases. Diatomic molecular gases, they have translational, vibrational and rotational degree of freedom. They can travel in straight line, they can vibrate, they can rotate. Because of that, it is having all type of degree of freedom. At moderate temperature and low temperature, already you know that vibrational degree of freedom is negligible, we can neglect. So the total energy per mole only because of translatory and rotatory motion. So total energy per mole is equals to 3 translatory degree of freedom, that is 3, and energy contributed by 1 mole. Rotatory degree of freedom 2, that is, and the energy contributed per mole. On solving we are getting 3 by 2 RT and 2 by 2 RT, simply you can say RT. Just by adding these two we are getting 5 by 2 RT. This is energy per mole. Again, to calculate Cv, Cv is equals to du by dt. In place of u we are taking 5 by 2 RT. We are differentiating this value with respect to temperature. So on solving we are getting 5 by 2 R. For monoatomic 3 by 2 R. For diatomic 5 by 2 R. Next, then calculate Cp value. We know that Cp minus Cv is equals to R, or Cp is equals to Cv plus R. Already we have calculated Cv value for monoatomic as well as diatomic. So just by adding R to Cv values we are getting Cp value. For monoatomic, Cv is 3 by 2 R plus R. This is equals to 5 by 2 R. So Cp for monoatomic gases is 5 by 2 R. For diatomic, Cp is equals to Cv plus R. Cv 5 by 2 R plus R. This is equals to 7 by 2 R. For triatomic gases, Cv is equals to 7 by 2 R and Cp is equals to 7 by 2 R plus R. So Cp is equals to 9 by 2 R. So these are Cp values for monoatomic, diatomic and triatomic gases. Whenever we take the ratio between Cp by Cv, we are getting some constant value. Based on that constant value, we are going to decide whether the gas is a monoatomic, diatomic or triatomic. For monoatomic, whenever we take the ratio between Cp by Cv, we are getting 1.66. The ratio between Cp and Cv for diatomic, we are getting 1.4. And the ratio between Cp and Cv for triatomic, we are getting 1.3. During the calculation, during solving some problems, if we got Cp by Cv value equal to 1.66 value, 66, then it must be a monoatomic gas. For example, some unknown gas is given to us and they asked us to calculate Cv. Then we have to calculate its Cp. The ratio between Cp by Cv, if false, which is approximately equal to 1.66, then that gas must be a monoatomic. If it is approximately equal to 1.4, then that gas must be a diatomic. If it is equals to 1.3, then it must be triatomic. Based on these values, we are going to decide the atomicity of the gases. By this, I am going to conclude today's class. In the next class, we are going to solve some problems and we are moving to the next topic. Okay, thank you.